It's time now for the Sports Objective Podcast. No talking heads, just guys who love sports. Here's Dave Richmond.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. I'm Dave Richmond, and along with Kyle from LaGrange Barber and Bubba Rosenbaum. How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, aggravated.
All right.
Yeah, a little frustrated.
The Pirate Football Playback, is that what you're calling it? Tell me the name.
Yeah, the Pirate Football Playback.
Oh,
yeah, I think that's inaccurate because I don't think that was Pirate Football we watched tonight.
Well, I thought you were going to say that. Can we?
Touche.
By the way, I was going to tell you guys something. Did you know what? And I'm not trying to get off the rails here, so you'll follow me just a second. Do you know what? This year is the 25th anniversary of a movie. Do you know what it is this week?
Not off the top of my head. Dumb and Dumber?
No, it's not a slam on anybody. It's actually Rudy. The movie Rudy is 25 years old this week, right? So
okay.
My sister and my mom and dad went to see, they had a special screening in Greenville today for Rudy. And I was just going to say, I think they went to a better ball game and the Rudy game. What do you think? Because at least we know we're...
Yeah, it's probably way more entertaining and certainly a better outcome.
Yeah, and guess what?
What's
you know what? I've seen the movie Rudy before, but at least it has an uplifting... It has an uplifting outcome where haven't we seen this same movie over and over again for the last 3 years? And I thought it'd be very nice. And
we have seen this movie over and over again, and just like with sequels, they just keep getting worse and worse and worse.
And you remember last year?
Scotty Montgomery Part 3 is the worst one yet. It ain't like The Godfather 3. It isn't the masterpiece of the trilogy.
This is like Police Academy 3. For the people who grew up in the 80s, Police Academy was incredible. It was a good movie. Not a great movie, but I mean, it was a good movie, a good comedy. But my God, I think they had like 10 of them. And so my thing is, at least those were comedies. But
this is a comedy.
What?
This is a comedy. Comedy of errors.
Oh, it's funny to you?
Yeah. No, it's not funny to me. But it's a comedy. I mean, what we're doing is a joke, so it's a comedy.
Bubba, what were your thoughts
on it? It's a bad comedy.
I'm sorry, Dave.
What were your thoughts on it? Kyle and I we're not going to dominate. We're going to let you talk too.
No, I mean, early on, I was very pleased with how we came out and started the ball game. And defense was solid. And held A&T to one first down, I guess, through the first quarter and a half until that final drive of the first half, if I'm not mistaken. They had one first down and probably run about 12 plays to our 47 or something. It was extremely lopsided. But what it boiled down to is their defense did what they needed to do to keep them in the game, and we didn't do what we needed to do offensively. I mean, we get down there in the red zone and had 3 points on 2 trips, and so that right there left a bad taste in your mouth, and you didn't have a good vibe about things for sure.
No, you know what else? 24/7 at halftime.
And you know what's funny about the game? They were doing the same thing, if you remember, that James Madison did on defense against our receivers. They were pass interference could have been called on like every play, but you know what? We'll give 15 because they can't. Guess what? The Pirates can't score, so it doesn't matter if you give up, 500 yards of penalties because it doesn't matter. The bottom line is they were holding on to the jerseys. They were doing anything they could to disrupt, but that was a smart game plan on the part of against A&T against the Pirates because James Madison did it last year.
Yeah.
You guys remember that?
Yeah, I do. And back to the red zone, it's the same thing over and over under Montgomery. We get in the red zone and we make mistakes. And people, some people will make the excuse, well, it's not his fault that we fumbled. It's not his fault that Reed threw an interception down. Yeah, it is. You shouldn't be throwing at the 2 on 1st and goal.
Exactly.
We should be able to run it in without it being a struggle against an FCS team from the 2 on 1st and goal. I mean, it's ridiculous that we get down there and we can't score. And it's the same show right over and over again. We go up and down the field. We get to the red zone and we can't stick it in. It's pathetic. This Scotty Montgomery, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Right. What it boils down to, like Kyle said, it's just all about a lot of it at least, is about our inability to run the football. I mean, you have, and I know, a lot of the game, they were playing soft, and we were taking what was there in the passing game. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we should run the ball for the sake of running the ball, but I would love to see the breakdown of the play selection on first down. It was a lot like last year as far as just abandoning the running game. I think we probably had, let's say we had 20 first down plays, we probably threw it 17 or 18 times. It's just unbelievable.
And taking what's there is one thing. Having a defense dictate what you do is another thing. When you're taking what you're given, that's like, give you an example. Lincoln Riley used to do that. He'd throw underneath, and then you know what would happen? He'd have good blocking downfield. Our receivers used to block so well under Lincoln Riley. And when we throw underneath, the receivers would block downfield, and we'd buff the 20, 30-yard gain. And we can't do that now. Our receivers. By the way, have you watched us try to block downfield? We can't do it to save our life. So when we're throwing underneath, we're not. Yeah, that's what they're giving us because we can't beat them. We drop 5-yard pass, 5-yard pass, 5-yard pass. We can't break a big one, and then we get to the red zone and we can't get it in. So it's not not even so much that we're taking what they're giving us. It's more they're dictating to us. We're going to give them this because they can't beat us. If they don't hit us over the top to Trayvon, and they can't run the ball, so we're going to give them the dink and dunk because they're going to screw up.
And the biggest thing for me is I want to ask you guys this because for me, I'm a defensive guy, so it sounds like I'm going to pick on the offense here. And I want to ask you guys a question, and I saved this for the podcast on purpose. All right, let me ask you this, and I don't know this off the top of my head. I know we've had 3 defensive coordinators, correct, in 1 year? You'll see where I'm going with this in a second. How many defensive coaches have we had in the last 3 years? It's more, it probably you could take a drink. If it was a drinking game, you would get drunk for every time you take a shot at how many defensive coaches we've had, right? All right, so let me ask you this question. How is it that we can have 1 million different defensive coaches, including 3 defensive coordinators in 1 year, but yet we still have the same offensive coordinator that we've had since the very beginning? And the same thing has happened over and over again. Yeah. And I am not anti-Tony Peterson. I'm just wondering why are we – I don't understand. Why is it that we can give up – we can have all these big numbers and we can move the ball, but yet – it's not about how many yards you have. It's about scoring points. Because
of 2 things. There's 3 things. But one, we haven't developed our offensive line. And people Ruff didn't recruit. Well, this is Montgomery's 3rd year. Yeah. Develop your players. We have not developed offensive linemen. We have talent at running back. Believe me, we have talent at running back.
Oh my God! We don't know how to use them.
Yes. We don't know how to use them.
We have
the red zone and you can't score.
We have 4 studs. Check this out. Look, check this out. Check this out. When people talk about talent and players, this is the best the quarterback position has been in 4 years.
So he says.
No, it is.
Gardner just lit up Wyoming. Gardner Minshew just lit up Wyoming for 3 touchdowns, almost 400 yards passing. If Gardner Minshew wasn't the reason we were bad, Scotty Montgomery's the reason we were bad. Scotty Montgomery's the reason we're bad this year. He is terrible. He is a terrible head coach. Guys, y'all know it just as well as I do.
The problem, I'm saying for what I was getting at is when people say we don't have talent, we've got a ton of running backs. 4 good running backs. You've got a ton of good receivers. You have 3 good quarterbacks that are the top in the state for, come on. The only area I would ask you guys, maybe tight end and then maybe offensive line. We've got a few good offensive line, but they're not getting holes. Another thing too is, Kyle, you brought up if I could rewind the tape, you brought up the fact in our Pirate preview, by the way, folks that were listening, that what would happen, our coaches went in the panic room and they will not stay with the run. And you remember when I told you about, we've talked about it, when Coach Rick Smith was on Pirate Radio, he said, well, if you can't run the ball, and he said, if you can't stop the run, you're probably not going to win the game. Something I'm paraphrasing right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And we did better tonight with defense overall, but it doesn't matter if you can't score points. This day and age, to me, if you look at it, the defense only gave up 21 points. The pick six, it was 28-23. But look, check this out. Look, I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but you go down there at the 2-yard line, and you should have been up like what, 24-0, or
it
maybe
should have been 24-7 at halftime.
What's that?
It should have been 24-7 at halftime.
Correct. So in other words, if we had the normal conditions like we're used to, it should be 24-7. And again, that's why when people say about talent and all that and what you have on paper, you know, when you were talking about that the other night about.
If anybody doesn't think we're more talented than North Carolina A&T, they're smoking crack. I mean, if anybody makes that argument with you that it's talent, punch them right in the face. We didn't just lose to UCF. We lost to North Carolina A&T. And, brother, they beat us by out-coaching Scotty Montgomery and his staff, and they beat us because they believed they were going to win, and we hoped we would win.
Right. We're trying to find, as Coach Montgomery, we're trying to find a way to win, right?
You don't try to find a way to win when you're playing an FCS opponent.
And think about as fans. Think about as fans right now. If this is year 2014, 2013, the last couple years under Lincoln Riley with Ruff, we would be talking about we're going to be this team, guys, we're going to have a really good year. It wasn't a question of whether we were going to a bowl. It was a question to which bowl do you think we're going to? It's where should we make our reservations, right, Bubba? I mean, we're going to
the good thing is
bowl.
now it's also not a question of whether we're going to a bowl.
Well, we actually, guys, we're going to a bowl next week at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, and that's what I was going to get at with you guys. Do you remember back when we were growing up as teenagers and as kids, Bubba, when you were actually a fan before we were more teenagers and you were a little infant when you became a Pirate fan. But anyway, everybody I've heard all my life till you want to vomit about how your bowl game, this is from Carolina and State fans, your bowl game is when you play us. That's your biggest game of the year. And I heard that over and over and over again like a bad record. And guess what? Next week it's retro. It's retro next week because our biggest game for us is that North Carolina game next week. That's our bowl next week, Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. Make sure that if you're a Pirate fan, you better come next week because that's our bowl. I'm telling you now.
I'm not coming.
You're not
I'm not going to be there. No, not unless Montgomery's fired this week. I will not be at another East Carolina game until Montgomery's fired. I'm not going next week. I'm not
going to be there, Bubba?
I do not plan to attend. No, I just can't see driving 6.5 hours round trip and 430 miles or whatever under the circumstances. I just don't see it.
I'm not.
Like Kyle said, I think if we made a change that I may very well attend, but the way I feel right now, and I really don't believe that myself or my dad will be attending next week.
All right, look, check this out, guys. I'm going to give this little tease for a future podcast. We have different people that have been great Pirates over the years. And one of the guys we've interviewed is actually the athletic director at Eastern Michigan University, and that is Scott Weatherby. And on that interview, I'm just going to go ahead and tell everybody right now, he was telling a story about John Thompson. And he said there's and I'm doing this on the top of my head, you guys can chime in. But he basically said that Terry Holland had a staff meeting, said, guys, this is just not going to get any better. And he told them about how that he was going to fire them and already fired Thompson. Well, the thing is, after year 2 under Montgomery, when you lose 70-13, we were praying for some kind of victory tonight. And we thought we honestly, all three of us thought, and we're being honest and sincere here, that we were going to win tonight. We thought it'd be a close. Well, Bubba, I know you thought it would be a 3-touchdown game. So, but I thought.
It doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me we lost.
I thought we'd win by 10. I thought we would win by 10. Bubba, he predicted that we'd pull away late and end up winning by 21. David, I think, said we win by 6.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I looked at some of the scores around the league and on our schedule with Temple losing to Villanova, which is a rivalry game. I don't think that's comparable to us losing to A&T. And then I looked at, ODU getting their tails kicked by Liberty. And I looked at North Carolina struggling, even though the score looks okay. They struggled with Cal. And I thought, well, man, maybe if we are improved this year, things are going to fall just right where we can get some early momentum and get some wins early.
Right.
And maybe we can turn this thing around. And,
right.
No, after tonight, we ain't going to turn nothing around. We ain't going to turn nothing around. And Scotty Montgomery's a terrible football coach. He is not a head coach. Let me tell you something. We should have never hired him. He is only, and I've pointed this out 100 million times on Pirate Radio on Fifth Quarter Calling Show. Scott, we hired a guy who has been a coach at one university ever. He had been a wide receivers coach and an offensive coordinator at Duke. That's the only university he's ever coached at. His other coaching gig was in the NFL. The only school he had ever coached at, ever played at, ever been involved with was Duke. That's it. What in the hell would he know about East Carolina or how to be a head coach at East Carolina? Not a thing. It was a stupid hire.
Well, here's the thing.
Anybody who could sit here now and make any kind of excuses, reasons, or rationale that Scotty Montgomery will turn this thing around. How much time are we supposed to give him? I mean, how much further do we have to bury this program? He made the statement. Scotty Moe made the statement when he first got here. He had the nerve to say, I was trying to cover things up. Again, applying Coach Ruff's players suck. Well, Coach Ruff's players never lost to FCS teams.
That's right.
They damn sure never lost to NCAA. They never. So anything we were trying to cover things up. Now I want to showcase things. That's his exact quote. When I first got here, I wanted to cover things up. Now I want to showcase things. Well, you showcased a crap show tonight. That's what he showcased. He showcased what a terrible head coach he is. And Tony Peterson is no better.
You know,
I got a feeling, David, and I'll shut up. I got a feeling. I hope not Scotty Montgomery's gone, but what I think is going to happen, he's going to fire Tony Peterson. That'll be the first thing that's going to happen. We'll fire Peterson either this week or next.
Here's
another
thing. Yes, here's another thing I want to talk about. Kyle said that I was going to do a rant tonight. It's a different rant. I was upset. The game was the day I had to work. But you know what? And once I got to work today, I had my fellas, you guys at the game, let me know what's going on. I kept up with what was going on. And I said, you know what? They think that I'm going to do a rant tonight, but we're going to win this game. And I was wrong. And I don't like being wrong, but I was wrong. And I said, I'm going to be a big boy, and I'm going to literally take one for the team. We're going to win the game. But, guys, this is not about – let me just make this point. It's been said before, but I'm going to say it now because most people think I'm the half full when it comes to a glass, half full versus half empty. But we have a systematic problem with our athletic program. You look at our university right now, and our academics is the way that our athletics used to be. There's a lot of pride. There's a lot of research going on. There's a lot of buildings going up. It is absolutely great to be a Pirate right now academically, right? But we right now, where is the leadership? Where is the leadership right now? And I'm sorry, I love everybody there. There's a lot of good people. So don't think that I'm saying everybody has to go. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, that old cliche. I'm not saying that. But let me just tell you this right now to Mr. Scotty Montgomery. I will tell the coach. Haven't you heard a million times about transparency, accountability? Right now, under the current coach and the current regime, we're 6-19. 6-19. And get this, John Thompson, as the guys that we said before this podcast, would never lose to an FCS opponent. I'm going to tell you something else. As a coach, and Bubba's coach, and Kyle, you've been around sports a long time. It comes down to one thing. when you love a coach, because my players did love me, and I'm not just saying that, you can ask them. They didn't matter the talent, if they had talent, no talent or not, they will play their butts off for you, and they will run through a brick wall for you, right? But tell me, when you lose 70-13 on Memphis, those guys were playing their hearts out when we know they have talent. And they won. They had beaten Virginia Tech. Those guys had beaten NC State. North Carolina, they had beaten ACC competition, but yet they're losing to FCS schools.
Yeah, it's funny Scotty Montgomery didn't have to cover things up when we beat NC State his second game.
Right.
Those guys knew how to win from the previous coaching staff, and what Montgomery's done is taught them how to be a bunch of losers. I mean,
we can't find a way to win. You know, I was saying today we could pay the refs and still lose. And I know it sounds ugly and a cheap shot, but when you can't score, I remember very well. Kyle, do you remember the Fabulous Sports Babe?
Yeah, absolutely. I hated her.
Well, I'm not saying that we had her when I was back, the Talk FM, and we would play her in the middle of the day. But anyway.
I remember. And she was not a babe. That was a lie.
So you're saying it's false advertising?
Very
anyway,
false.
Okay. She always said when people complained, she said, score more points, right? That was her thing about people complaining about the officials or this, that, and the other. The bottom line is that's what's wrong. Everybody's talking about how bad our defense is. Well,
I don't think anybody's talking about that right now.
No. I'm just saying in the last couple of years, that's been the narrative. Our defense is awful. And I give you that we were last and all that. But somebody's got to focus on the offense, because giving up 21 points for your defense and 28 overall, and this now back in the day, 28 points giving up would have been god-awful. But looking at the modern era football, 28 points is not bad.
21's on the defense. The other 7 was 100% on the offense. It was a pick six. So 21 points what the defense gave up. And let me tell you something. I don't even think we would have given that up had our offense finished drives. I think had our offense finished drives and got the momentum and kept the momentum, I don't even think we would have given up 21. I think Coach Blackwell's a solid coach. I'd make him interim head coach tomorrow. I'd do it tonight.
Well, my point was is they're playing for Coach Blackwell. They're playing for Coach Blackwell.
Yeah, they're not playing for Montgomery and Peterson. Yeah, Coach Montgomery is not relatable. You know, Ruffin used to have a quote, real recognizes real. And let me tell you something, there's one thing I am, it's a real person. I'm as real as it gets. And real recognizes real, and the real also recognizes fake. And Coach Montgomery is fake. He is phony. He comes across as unsincere and unlikable. Blackwell seems like a real dude, and that's why those boys like him. Tony Peterson, look, all I've ever heard Tony Peterson say is, you know what? Yeah, you know what? So I don't have any idea what kind of person Tony Peterson is, if he's likable, not likable, because all he ever says is, I don't know if you guys have ever picked that up in his interviews, but he says, you know what, over and over again, drives me up the freaking wall. Bubba, what would you do? If you could wave a magic wand and you were in charge tonight, tell me exactly what you would do.
I'm say based on what I know, it would be hard not to go in another direction for sure. And if I made the decision to go in another direction, then David Blackwell would seem like the obvious choice to take things over.
You would make Blackwell interim head coach. You'd fire Montgomery and make Blackwell interim head coach.
Right.
That's what I'd do too. And
what you do is give him a. I'm sorry, Kyle. I was just going to quickly say is that think about this, okay, guys. Think about this. When you have David Blackwell, right, and he's obviously got guys lining up correctly. The schemes he's got the guys playing up and definitely playing to their abilities and all that. And you look at it, and it's like, for me, when I look at the coaching staff, I'm going, okay, we've seen this bad movie. David Blackwell's here. He's a former Pirate. If you fired Montgomery this week, and some people are going to say, well, why wouldn't you? Normally I'm the guy, and you guys know me, and especially Kyle does, I'm the guy that says wait till the end of the year, right? You've heard me say that, Kyle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I've told Bubba, but I have told Kyle. I'm the guy that normally says, wait to the end of the season. It'll ruin the season. Well, we're at a point now where financially, this is the piece I want to mention tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but I was told it was over $3 million we're in the hole. If we go through another year of 3-9, 2-10, or even 4-8 at this point.
We ain't going 4-8.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying even hypothetically, throw it out there. If you have a losing season, this supports, the football team supports the entire athletics, pretty much the budget, right? Or a lot of the money with the ticket sales, if you have season tickets, walk-up tickets, individual tickets, whatever, the merchandise, the concession stands, all of that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're 100% right. Let me point this out while you're talking about that. When we lose like this, it has a secondary hit on ticket sales. Because what's going to happen is when I say there's a secondary hit on ticket sales, what's going to happen is I'm not going next weekend, and Bubba's not going next weekend. So what is Bubba and I going to do with our tickets? We're going to sell them, which keeps the university from selling more tickets. So not only are they going to lose ticket sales from people who weren't going to buy them anyway, now people who do want to buy them that didn't buy season tickets will buy them on the secondary market because they can get better tickets at a lower price. So there's a double hit when you lose. There's going to be even more money lost from people like us selling our tickets.
My biggest concern is, and then you look at, there's a lot of businesses right now that if you polled, I tell you right now, look at the hotels and motels in Greenville.
That's another thing. Yeah.
They're going to call up the athletics department and say, I'm losing business when normally we're used to getting, guys, do you know how much, there's a motel I call that normally charges about, say, $75, $80 a night. Guess what they were charging for this weekend? $161 a night. And we're not talking about, I know the Hilton was $196. Okay, maybe more than that. But we're talking about a 2 to 3 star hotel, and they're getting $161 a night, nowhere near the stadium. It's the western part of town, I will say that. And I was like, wow.
Dave, do you normally call this hotel by their hourly rate?
No. I was trying to help a buddy who was thinking about coming into the game, and he was asking.
Gotcha.
No, it's not about my wife. If she's listening to the podcast, it's not.
That was just a joke, Kirsten. That was just a joke.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. Kyle, you can host that one. But
okay, sounds good.
Anyway, no, I was just making a point that if they're getting that basically double what they normally get, they're making some serious cash on the weekend. And you think about Uber drivers. I mean,
I think we lost David. You're cutting out on us there.
Can you hear me?
You can now. You're good. We're back live.
Okay. But the biggest thing for us right now is we've got to look at the big picture. The big picture is, this is another thing that makes me sick to my stomach. Okay? For the people, and I have friends who've made this point, that Coach Montgomery has a family. Did Ruffin McNeil have a family in 2015? Did he have a family?
Yeah, I don't give a damn about Coach Montgomery having a family. Everybody's got a family. What does that have to do with anything? Look, his wife's a lawyer. His wife's a lawyer. They'll be fine.
Bottom line is, the reason why coaches are paid a lot is because if they haven't been fired, at some point they will be fired.
And Montgomery will get another job. Montgomery is a heck of a recruiter. That is one thing he can do well. He will get a job, which is what he should be doing. He'll be a receivers coach somewhere and recruit. He'll concentrate on coaching receivers and recruiting at an ACC or an SEC school, which is what he should be doing.
Yes, and so the question is, if are they going to fire him now? I will tell you this. I have friends that have texted me already. If you think this week is bad, and if he survives this week, if you lose to North Carolina, I don't see how in the world you can keep it.
No, I don't either. But I got a question, David, Bubba. Who the hell's going to fire him? We don't have an athletic director. Okay. Kyle, do you remember when we started out and you were coming on and you were helping me out with ECU stuff, and, we talked about that basically what it's come down to is we've had terrible decisions been made
for the last 5 years. Terrible decisions
Absolutely.
for the last 5 years. In every way, aspect of the university. And I was saying about earlier about leadership. Well, you know what? You know, it's kind of ironic when I say funny. I don't mean funny like ha-ha funny, but ironic that we had a bad storm last night. Well, there's a remnant of that bad storm that we're still dealing with decisions that were made to push out Terry Holland. We know who those people are. You pushed him out. You wanted to get rid of, you get Comfer. You want to get rid of Ruff, those few people that wanted to, some of them have said they regretted that they were part of that, but that's a whole nother show. But the thing is, we're living off of bad decisions that were made. And whether you like people or you don't like people, it doesn't matter. Take the emotion out of it. Bad decisions were made, as I've mentioned several times on this podcast. When you gamble, and you got to take it's a risk or reward thing. And we've risked. A guy made a point on the fifth quarter tonight about talking about the Southside Project. I feel sorry for the people at the Pirate Club because we had Philip One on this week for our Pirate preview, and they've got to go out and sell a Southside Project after losing to an FCS opponent that we should have never lost to.
No.
Look, here, get this. My grandfather, and I'll let you talk, Kyle, Bob, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this point. My grandfather was not opposed to guns, my dad's dad, but he said he never owned a gun, and you know why? He said he had a fear of someone breaking into his home and still taking his gun and shooting him with it. Well, we keep playing, sorry, Kyle, I'm going to bring this up. When we keep playing FCS opponents, we keep playing FCS opponents, and we're paying them $300,000 to lose to them. I mean, how sorry? I mean, if you don't think the program is in shambles, and if you don't think things can get worse, then think about that. Think about we're giving $300,000.
Oh, it can't get any worse.
Oh, it can. It can get worse. It can get way worse. We can lose every single game. We can have 10,000 seats in the stadium. Like we had 12,000.
Oh yeah. Well, if we keep Montgomery, that's what'll happen.
Right.
But I'm hoping some people. I don't know. By the way, Dave Hart, I called you out on Pirate Radio. I'm calling you out here if you're listening, and you were a guest on the podcast. Dave, if you love ECU as much as you say you do, and this place is special to you, then crap or get off the pot. You either need to be our athletic director or you need to get out of here. I love you. I think you're a hell of a man. I love what you did here before. But if you ain't going to be our leader, you need to go. Because what you're doing now is putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. Our athletic program is broken. And having a part-time leader ain't going to get it done. So, Dave Hart, if you truly care, and this place is as special to you as you say it is, then you need to become the full-time athletic director, or you need to make a good recommendation on who should be. Because we need a leader. We need a strong leader right now because Pirate Nation is hurting. Pirate Nation is hurting. And you said it yourself, what we need is hope. Well, this ain't no hope tonight. This is the opposite of hope. This is despair.
We know before we had the slogan of the Peach Bowl, we believe, and right now we don't believe. And so what needs to happen is, I've told you guys, I've said it 100 times, but we've got to have a plan to get out of this hole that we're in, that the previous administration dug us in. So we've got to, in every way, if you think about it, in every possible way, we are in a hole. Every possible way.
One problem we have is we have a chancellor in Cecil State that doesn't give two craps about athletics. And until Cecil realizes that we are a big-time football program that is big enough to have a training table, if that was true that he said that, oh my God, we need leadership from the top down. We have no leadership, and it's unreal. Bubba, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know a moment ago you were talking about your frustrations with the Dave Hart situation, and I agree that we need to go ahead and make a decision on our permanent leadership. But in all fairness to Dave Hart, I mean, and like you said, I would be fine with him staying on full time. I mean, based on what I've heard, I think that he's doing what we've asked him to do, and it may be a situation where it's over. I mean, where it's more like with the leadership above him, and as far as allowing this to drag on as long as it has, instead of finding a permanent replacement.
And I'm going to say something else.
Go ahead.
I'm just sorry. I was going to say, Dave Hart doesn't want the job. Okay, he doesn't want the job, and I've heard people say that. People have told me that he's not sure. He doesn't want the job, and for various reasons. But I'm not going to get into that. But
I'll tell you why.
if you think about it, okay, he is. I think it's 69, 70. I'm not sure if he's had a birthday this year, but he's right at that 70-year mark. Okay, so he's like right at my parents' age. And they're like, Dave Hart doesn't have to do another day's work. My parents are in the same boat. He's doing this because he wants to do it, not because he has to, right?
Well, we're paying him $150,000 for 8 days of work. So don't act like it's a charitable contribution.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that my point is that he has nothing to prove because he's almost 70 years old. So he's lived his time and he's doing. You know what? I think that what it comes down to now is we've got to have leadership, and we've got to have people. And look, there might be some. You know what? There might be some ugly choices that you have to make as far as getting rid of people that we normally we love them, and I don't know that it's at that point. I know that.
Who do we love?
Who do we love?
Yeah, getting rid of people we love. I was wondering who you're referring to that we love that we need to get rid of.
I'm saying there's people. I mean, I don't know every single person in the athletic department. I'm just saying there's not every single person there that we want to fire.
No,
I think
the people that I like. I'm fine. Look, I don't get me wrong. I like Dave Hart. I want him to be the full-time AD. But if he don't want the job, then he needs to go to Cecil Staten and say, Cecil, I'm doing nothing here but spinning my wheels. You need a permanent AD. Let me help you find the right man for the job.
Right.
And get him in here because we need a permanent leader.
Right. I thought the plan would be to, when Confer resigned, balled out, whatever that case may be, whatever the term you want to use, and we started this podcast, we thought that Dave Hart would come in for a few months and then start doing a search committee. And then by the beginning of football season, he would have the next AD hired, or there'd be breaking news that Dave Hart would take the job for a few years, right? That's what I really thought. And that's what I'd been told, is that was probably going to happen, or, that was that. Anyway, so I thought that was going to happen. It hasn't happened. So now we're at a point where we could go to December, January. It could be the springtime. We need to have basically what's going to happen now is it could be that if Montgomery is fired, if hypothetically, let's say he is fired, well, what coach, as Kyle, I know you mentioned, what coach is going to come here if there's not an AD in place?
Well, that's a good question. I would hope at that point maybe Hart would take the job at least for 2 years, or he'd get somebody in here in place by December to hire the new coach. I don't know. There are some coaches out there from the FCS that are good coaches. I think that's the route we would have to go. I think we would have to hire an FCS head coach. Probably not Mike Houston at that point. Mike's going to have too many options. I know we all love Mike Houston from JMU. I think that would be all of our dream hire. But there's the head coach out at Austin Peay who's turned around one of the worst FCS programs historically in the country. That probably makes $100,000 a year if he's lucky, who would jump at the opportunity to be the head coach of East Carolina. We would probably have to be creative with our hire and hire a good FCS coach that just would not turn down the opportunity to be a head coach at East Carolina. Or coordinators. There's a lot of coordinators, but that's a gamble. I think we can't afford to gamble right now. I think we need a proven head coach. And I think if we were in a situation where Hart was having to make the hire as an interim AD, I think, again, we would have to hire a good FCS head coach. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah. Well, I think that what I think it comes down to is this. I think the same thing came down to Joe Dooley, even though it's basketball, different circumstances in some respects. But what it comes down to is what we need. And I'm going to say this to the fan base, too. I'm going to say this to the fan base. We need people to step up, roll up their sleeves, and make a commitment to this program. We have people all the time talking about how great Pirates are and this, that, and the other, and it's the great team and the family and all the, you want to just like go, oh, my God, it's like a Hallmark movie or a Lifetime movie, whatever. But anyway, what we need is people to step up in the fan base, okay? We need that desperately. And wait a minute. I'm gonna finish. I'm making my point. Here's what else we need. We need for our officials, our leadership that we have right now, we need these people to give the money for not only the head coach, but for the assistants as well. And I'm going to tell you something. If you did the right package, then you could get guys like Mike Houston. You could get guys that are really good coaches. The problem is, in the past, what we've seen, including back in 2016, is we're ready to hire a good coach or who we think is a good coach or a sexy hire. And then what happens is they turn us down because you don't have the money, or you don't make – it's not that you don't have the money. You don't make the commitment, and that's the word that I'm going to use, guys. We're not making the commitment as a fan base, and we're not making the commitment at the administration level. Or if we're big time, let's be big time. If we're not, then let's just say we're not. We're just going to be a mid-major for the rest of our lives. I mean, if that's what – that's what it's coming down to. Because right now – we don't have I'm 45 years old. I don't know if I have tomorrow, but I can't wait till I'm 75 or 80 for us to really to grow. And that's the problem I'm having now, is I'm struggling with the fact that we don't have commitment across the board. And I'm just being straight up and real with you. Kyle, you want me to be straight up and real, and that's what I'm going to be.
No, we need more commitment from everybody. But it's one of those things. Fans need to step up. Well, it's kind of what comes first, chicken or the egg. Right now, if we make a decision to hire an AD, if we make a decision to fire Scotty Montgomery, if we make good decisions like that from the people above us, then I think a lot of people would be motivated.
Yes, that's
to give more. I mean, I'd give more. But what do I want to – look, it's $700 just about 2 season tickets. That's rough. I mean, it may be more than that. I've already spent, and I probably won't even use them. I say that. Who knows? I may change my mind and go. But it's just you're pissing money away.
Right.
If nobody's gonna in a leadership role is going to be committed to winning. Look, our athletics department, Dave Hart as whatever the hell his title is, and
special advisor for athletics to the chancellor.
Yeah. Cecil Staten, who says we're America's next great university. Well, how does that look losing to A&T, Cecil? And Dave Hart should be livid tonight losing to A&T, what he helped build here years ago with the Peach Bowl, with Bill Lewis, with Steve Logan. And now we're losing to A&T. Hart should be livid. Lee Workman, who's been here a long time, should be livid.
Yep.
There should be as much anger out of them as there is out of the fan base of this bull crap that's going on. Bubba, you need to chime in, brother. You say something.
I was going to say,
you fell asleep at the wheel.
No. I was going to say, almost back home. I'm going through Lexington, about half an hour from home. But no, as far as things go, just you're talking about fan base making a commitment. In order for the fan base to make a commitment, it doesn't necessarily have to be more wins and losses, but what we do need to see is that progress is being made. You can't have year 3 of a coach's tenure and having what's arguably the worst loss in our program's history, at least in an awful long time. And I'm not saying that North Carolina A&T is not a good football team, because they clearly are. But at the same time, if we're being honest with ourselves, there's no reason we should be losing that football game. All right? No. And I know you can say that about a lot of different upsets. most weekends in college football, but you just can't be losing that game, especially in year 3 of a coach's tenure, and losing it where you have the issues that we had at the end as far as the 2-minute drill and some of the confusion and lack of organization and things that were going on, and then just simply not being able to run the ball. You had 25 carries for like 68 yards, like 2.7 something a carry. I mean, just you didn't feel like you could run the ball at all. Like it's like we were playing 7-on-7.
We've got yeah, and Bubba, with the one thing, the fan base, your customers, by the way, if you're an athletic administration, your customers, and you hear the customers always right, your customers and your fan base is telling you they want transparency and they want accountability. Well, we've been down this road many times over the last 3 years, over and over, and the poor guys, and those of us doing a podcast, tonight is to me, I don't think I've ever been this depressed after a Pirate loss. And everybody says, oh yeah, or, no, I can honestly say there's been some ones that were really hurt and stung really bad for various reasons. But this one hurts because it's not about losing the game to Virginia Tech, right? It's not losing to, if you're playing Alabama, Clemson. You're losing to a team who you have better talent than. And what's happening is, when there are people that are saying right now that it won't be as bad as UAB, things won't be as bad as Tulane. Look, guys, there are people right now that are good Pirates that are not giving. And the reason they're not giving, and I'll tell you why, they're not giving because they're speaking with their pocketbook, just like you guys were talking about not coming next week. And, that's how sad things are right now. We've got hardcore fans. Forget the fair-weather fans or the casual fans, the people that walk up to buy the tickets because we're playing an ACC school like North Carolina, whatever. We're talking about the people that are the hardcore fans. So my challenge for the folks listening right now that are inside the Ward building, because we know they listen. We've been told by people that are in the building to listen, so we know they listen. So I'm pouring my heart out because normally Kyle will tell you that he's like, why don't you say anything on the podcast? The reason I'm saying something tonight and my being upset is not because we lost to A&T. The reason why I'm upset is because people aren't making decisions right now. It's been like a stalemate. 2018 has been better, but it's still, like Kyle said, it's like a stalemate right now. So is it bad? Well, no. Is it good? Well, then when we have this loss, and I'll tell you, it hurts more than I can't think of you can think of all the losses that we've had in Pirate history and why we were hurting for that loss for various reasons. But losing 2 FCS back-to-back season openers, we had not lost a season opener. We had not lost to an FCS opponent, I believe, since 1980. I was 7 years old. 1980. Think about that. And that's what is really hurting right now. As Jimmy Carter was president, the last time we lost to an FCS opponent. Think about that. The man's in his 90s now. Think about that. So I want people to realize that we are big time, but we need leadership and we need commitment across the board. That's going to be my word from now on, is commitment. So who's committed? And also, I'm going to say my final part, and I'll let you guys, we're almost out of time because I could talk for hours, but we try to make it an hour podcast. But I want to ask Dave Hart, Cecil Staten, everybody, Lee Workman, everybody that's in leadership right now in East Carolina, what is your legacy going to be? Do you want to be the guy that people remember us by, oh, they allowed things to happen? Or are you going to make tough decisions? The choice is up to you guys, and that's the thing for me right now that hurts. The thing about you guys, it hurts when we lose, and we shouldn't have to do this podcast tonight the way that we've had. We wanted to talk about a win. We wanted to talk about the season. But yet, this has been unleashed. It's been raw. It's been real. And we're hoping that when people hear this, it's not going to be portrayed and perceived as being negative, but This is what the Southerners call, for the people listening around the country and around the world, a come to Jesus meeting, and that's what we're having right now. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And people can say it's being negative all they want. I really don't care. I look. I'm going to go ahead and speak to a certain segment of our fan base. If you're out there right now, as I just read somebody post on Right the Ship, saying we can't afford to buy out Scotty Montgomery, you are the biggest idiot on the planet Earth. We can't afford not to. He has 2 years left on his contract. His buyout $500,000 a year.
No,
that's $1 million. Huh?
His base salary is $400,000 a year.
$400,000 a year. Okay, yeah. $800,000. His buyout $800,000. If you don't think we're going to lose more than $800,000 this season, and if we keep him next season, you are smoking something. $800,000 for an athletic department that can be paid spread out ain't nothing.
Right.
$800,000 for one of these big wig donors. Write a check. You want to write a check for your little silly suite up in the up by the press box so you can feel important? Why don't you write a check to get Montgomery's ass out of here?
Well, you know what? And you know what?
So,
the $800,000 this year, if you think about it, I remember my friend, and I'm sorry, Kyle, just made this point, that a buddy of mine, he was dealing with writing a paper, and he hadn't got much of it. And finally his mom said to him, look, cut your losses, just do the best you can, write something, right? Well, that's a different platform and a different circumstance for sure, but it's time to cut our losses. We're at a point now where there's been a lot of bleeding, right, going on. Since 2015, since December 4, 2015, when Ruffin McNeil was fired, we've had a lot of bleeding going on. And it's time to stop the bleeding. We need a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. And then also, let's, like Kyle said, we got to fix this problem. And a lot of people, you know, when Michael Jackson had the song Man in the Mirror, well, we've got to look in the mirror. And I may not be the most attractive man or whatever, but I look in the mirror still every single day. And if you look in the mirror, if you like what you see, keep doing what we're doing and keep doing 3 and 9. Or you can actually look in the mirror and say, okay, I need to make some changes. This is not maybe the face I want to see or whatever. Maybe I need a new haircut, or maybe there's some things I can do or change. Right. And that's what we got to do, is we got to have people. And when you look in the mirror, be honest with yourself when you look in the mirror too.
David, don't you need hair to need a haircut?
Well, that's true. I have to get a finder's fee. That's why I do a podcast. I can't do TV shows or Facebook all the time, like live, like you do, Kyle. But. Right,
absolutely, because I'm so good looking. No, look. Bottom line is, the change needs to be made. Montgomery needs to go. We need leadership to step up. We need somebody, you know, like Dave Hart either needs to take a full-time leadership position and be an AD, or he needs to point us in the direction of who he thinks. Let me tell you something. Staten isn't going to form a committee and go look for an AD. So what Hart needs to do, if he doesn't want the job, take Cecil, Scott Weatherby, East Carolina ties. I know him from when he was at Mississippi State and I was at Tennessee. He'd be a great fit. Or XYZ, whoever. I trust Hart's ability to appoint a good AD.
Or he could appoint his son, right?
His son, I probably make more money at SMU than he would here, but nonetheless, there's a lot of good people out there that Hart knows that if he doesn't want the job, we need a full-time leader. But bottom line is, Montgomery needs to go. We've seen this show before, and I've said it. I'm just repeating myself at this point. So I'll let Bubba talk. Bubba, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I wholeheartedly agree. Say nothing against Coach Mo as a man, but just I've shaken hands with the man twice at Pirate Club functions and that kind of thing, but just based on the on-field results, and the other things we've talked about as far as where the fan base is right now, and I just don't see it getting better. I think it's obviously this is the lowest point of his tenure, and this is game 1 of year 3. So I think we need to move in a different direction. I think if we made Coach Blackwell interim head coach, that it would provide some hope and inject some enthusiasm into the program, and maybe things could turn around some over the course of the remainder of the season. Because obviously, we're only one game into this thing, guys. After tonight, it feels like we've played about a third of our schedule. Just unbelievable, the type of feeling that this leaves. I've been texted numerous times on the way home over the last 2 to 3 hours. Just my buddies saying, "Man, A&T, how'd y'all lose to A&T?" And they're well aware of the success that A&T had last year. They just cannot believe with where ECU football's been in the past that we're losing to North Carolina A&T, no matter how good they are.
I'll give you a quick note on the difference between East Carolina and NCAA, and I hope I don't get this young man in trouble with his coaching staff. Number 22, running back for NCAA. Fans were yelling down at him. You need to come play for us. We ain't got a running back. You need to come play for us, 22. I was sitting right behind him, right behind the A&T bench. You need to come play for us, 22. He looked at us and said, "I wish." So that kind of tells you all you need to know. They understand where they are and who they are, and they understand where they were and who we are. And they understand beating East Carolina is a big deal to them, despite all the games they won. Their players wish they had the opportunity to play at East Carolina. They wish they had those scholarship offers. We should have never lost to them. Forget the success they've had. They do not have the kind of players. They do not play the competition we do. They should have never beat us. And hats off to those boys. They came in with swagger. They believed they were going to win, and they did win. So hats off to them. I have nothing bad to say. You know, I know one of their players, I was trying to congratulate him after the game, and all he wanted to do was taunt. I think he thought maybe I was he weren't listening to what I was saying. But hats off to their players, and congratulations to them and to their coaching staff. Coach Broadway did a hell of a job building that program, and he built it the right way, and he left them in great shape. And their new head coach is just keeping that thing rolling. He's just keeping it rolling, and so you know, it's a shame we're in this situation, guys, and maybe we'll get some good news this week. And another thing, I'll say this, then I'm done, and we can sign off here. If you make Blackwell interim head coach, what it does is it gives somebody to pull for. We all like Coach Blackwell. And maybe he does, you know, maybe he turns this thing around and wins 5 games, and we can make him permanent head coach for next year. Right. It gives us a pirate to pull for. Everybody likes Coach Blackwell. That, you know, even if he doesn't get it done, we'll be pulling for him, and then we can get our permanent head coach in here. But at least it gives him the opportunity to win the job.
Yeah, and it's actually, hey, you want to talk about the best kind of audition? This is the best kind of audition you can have, is to have the guy we would see what he would do. And it was tough under the circumstances if that does happen, but at least it gives him opportunity. We could say, well, you know what, we were in every single game, or we're competitive where we haven't been competitive before. We've won 4 or 5 games. Let's give him a chance, you know, see what he can do if that were the case. But I tell you, this has been probably not only the toughest loss, but somebody asked me if they knew we were recording tonight, one of my close friends, and they said, "I know you're excited about doing the podcast." And I said, "I'm looking forward to it like I was when I had my root canal last month. I was not looking forward to this podcast." For everybody that thinks that there's certain people that think that Kyle, myself, maybe, or Bubba, and even now, that we enjoy talking about a loss, this program means everything to me. And that's why I'm more outspoken tonight, because I'm hoping that people will listen to us and make the hard decisions. That's why they're getting paid to do a job, is to make tough decisions. When things are going right, that's when you probably should pay the university or pay wherever you're working. When things go right, those are not the days. The reason why you get paid is for the tough days, right? And that's why it's amazing to me that I thought we would hear something by now as far as as far as a lot of different decisions that have been made. I thought we'd hear about the AD by now. A lot of the different things, what we've got coming up in the future, we still haven't heard any kind of plans. So I want to send a message out there to folks listening right now. These three guys that you're hearing on this podcast are not lunatic fringe. What we are is passionate, we're proud, we're pirates. And you know what? I'm going to say this finally, guys, and I sincerely mean this with the bottom of my heart. Our mascot says all about our geography, our history of this state. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then look it up. It's Blackbeard and all that. We could go on the eastern part of North Carolina, pirates. We are pirates. And if we're not going to be pirates and live up to that mascot name, we need to change the name of our mascot to something different. And I'll leave you with that. What do you guys have finally to say?
I've said pretty much everything that I need to say. We need to make a change, and we need to make it now.
Bubba?
I was just looking over. I just got home. I was just glancing over some of the final numbers. That's what. If you want me to, I'll run them down right quick.
Yeah, if you can give us a couple minutes, then we'll be out of here.
Okay. Just looking at some of the final numbers. That's what Reed Herring, of course, he had thrown one pass prior to today. Today he attempted 65. I never would have thought that he would throw 65 passes today. I would have thought probably about 40 to 45 at max.
Right.
I think would have been much more balanced. And I know sometimes as an offensive coach, balance means doing what the defense gives you. But I certainly think that that wasn't the whole story today by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's more our inability to run the ball, and just knowing that we couldn't run the ball, we chose to put it in the air. But anyway, Reed finished 37 of 65, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and of course the 2 picks, one of which went back to over 105 yards. Of course, NCAA rules only allow you to call it a 100-yard interception return, but it went at least 105, maybe more there early on. The running game, you had Anthony Scott was our leading rusher, 12 carries for 34 yards. His longest rush was 8 yards. You had Trace Christian, 10 for 20, longest rush, 8 yards. Husan Howe, 2 for 15. He had a 9-yard carry, which was our longest run of the day.
Yeah. So by the way, 2 for 15.
We did not have a 10-yard run.
2 for 15. Does that immediately make you ask the question? Why the hell weren't we playing Hussein Howe?
Not only that, but we've got Penix. I don't think he ever touched the ball.
He did not.
And so we need to. And Kyle brought up the point about people panicking. We need to establish a running game. That is the elephant in the room as far as the offense is concerned. So establish the run game. Don't abandon the run, because then you're one-dimensional. I mean, even somebody like me that's not a smart guy sees that and figures that out, that we abandoned the run. We panicked. We can't run in the red zone, so we're trying to throw, and then we have a pick six when we're at the 2-yard line. So, yeah. Sorry, buddy.
But yeah, as far as some of the receiver stats, because obviously, like I said, that was what we elected to do today about
5-yard pass, 5-yard pass, 5-yard pass.
2 out of every 3 plays of the pass. You had Terrell Green, who people were waiting to have a coming out party, and he had 10 catches for 85 yards, long of 16. Blake Kroll, heck of a first game as a Pirate, 9 catches, 65 yards, a touchdown. DeAndre Ferry had 5 for 57. Trayvon, 7 for 57. And then you had Taj Deans and Anthony Scott, who had 3 catches apiece. So, I mean, the catches were spread around a lot. It wasn't like 2 years ago where you had Day with 15 or 20 catches and hardly anybody else with much production. But yeah, the biggest take for me is just, I've harped on it and harped on it, just our inability to run the football. And that was something that coming into the game today, I wanted to see us get hopefully close to 150. And, of course, we got we didn't even get 70. We had less today against NC-A&T than we did last year against JMU, if I'm not mistaken. I think we ran for 75 or 80 against JMU.
That's pathetic.
That hurt.
But I was obviously the second half we didn't play nearly as well defensively, and of course the offense certainly didn't do the defense any favors. But at the same time, I know Coach Blackwell's talked throughout fall camp and the scrimmages about at times we're being positioned, not make plays on the football. That happened to Colby Gore. I know at least a couple times today, if not more. In pretty good position and just didn't make a play on the football. I think one of them was that touchdown right before the half that made it a 3-point ball game.
Yep.
And but yeah, I think North Carolina held Cal to right around 300 yards of offense. And I know in our preview for the ACC, I talked about Nathan Elliott having some, I guess maybe moxie you could say, and he did throw 4 picks yesterday at Cal, very uncharacteristic of how he performed last year. But so I don't think he's going to play that way again. And we've talked about how hungry North Carolina is under Larry Fedora. Of course, they're 0-1 and coming in really needing to win. So we're going to have our work cut out for us if we're going to be competitive next week.
Yeah, well, guys, I'll tell you what. I'll sum it up. A very tough loss, gut punch, the worst in the history of the program. And I've been watching Pirate football since 1986. This is the worst. So don't think it's just because of tonight and my emotions, because I love to win and I'm very competitive. Even if it's checkers, I want to win. So it's the worst loss in the history of the program. What are we going to do? We've got a lot of question marks off the field that determine the outcome on the field. And I appreciate you guys very much. It's been very emotional. I feel like I've played a game. I'm sweating, and it's time to go take a shower on my part. So I'm going to the locker room, take a shower, guys. Appreciate you very much. Bubba, I'm glad you're back. I'm home safe. You're home safe. Kyle's been home safe. And Bubba,
I do have one thing, Dave, after you finish saying.
Go ahead.
I was talking with a couple former Pirate football players, which will remain nameless, but one of which is coach in a major institution in the FBS, and he was able to watch our game tonight. And when he did so, of course his team, like most, played yesterday. He was watching our game, and he said that he felt like we were more talented than we had been the last couple of years, but that he didn't know, it didn't seem as though we knew how to use our guys. And of course, that's just one person's opinion.
Absolutely.
But that is coming from an FBS coach at a very successful program. I will say that. And
I bet it rhymes with Shinokolanoma.
No, it was not Coach Riley at Oklahoma, but
I didn't think it was Coach Riley.
but it was a coach at a very successful program, and but anyway, he said that he thought that was very interesting that we've seen more talent, but didn't really seem how to know how to use our guys. He said he felt like the defense was in position the majority of the night or afternoon rather, and that he thought that was certainly a positive change, that he really liked the acquisition of David Blackwell as defense coordinator, but of course things totally turn overnight, but he certainly feels like that side of the ball is headed in the right direction.
No, it's to this mysterious coach's point. I made the comment several times during this game. You got guys like Trayvon Brown. You got guys like Ferrier. You got guys like Anthony Scott that are dangerous as hell in space.
Right.
And we just can't get them in space to make plays. We don't put them in positions to be successful.
Win. That's right.
We are poorly coached on the offensive side of the ball. the coaching has improved on defense on the opposite side of the ball. It's just what it always has been. We're going to be good between the 20s, and that's it.
Yep.
But anyway, we need to wrap this up, guys.
All right, guys. Well, let's do it. We'll actually have, if there any news, by the way, I want to tell you folks, if any news breaks, obviously we're going to have another podcast or two this week. If any news breaks, of course, we're going to have our previews coming out. We're working on those behind the scenes. We'll have those, but any kind of emergency podcast, we'll do it. We'll have an emergency pod, as they say. And for the meantime, we'll keep things for status quo as far as we know. We're taping this on Sunday night after the game. This is Dave Richmond, and you've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Join us next time as the guys will be objective, and the objective is sports.